Welcome to Deet's Quick Tips. Today's quick tip is on Loctite and using it. I prefer to use Loctite, oops, not going to focus, 243 is my preferred Loctite. It's the blue stuff. Avoid the red stuff because that is permanent and you'll never get the screws out, but Loctite 243 is my preferred Loctite. Now you need to use Loctite on every metal screw that goes into metal. Now the manuals on some of the airframes do recommend you don't use Loctite on the top plate screws, but I still use a tiny bit. Now, how to use Loctite is pretty basic. What I do is I like to have a little tray. I've got this as a little old screw packet, and I tend to just I start with a nice fresh dot of Loctite on the tray, just a dot on the tray at the beginning of each job. And I'll top that up as I go. I actually clean it off after each job. And what you do is you take the screw and you just dip it in and then wipe any excess off. So what you end up with is just a dab, the tiniest dab of Loctite sitting in the thread. It's not dripping off, there's not too much of it, and you don't need it necessarily all the way down, but that's all you need. Using too much Loctite is probably not a good thing to do. Then you want to make sure your tool actually sits properly into the head of the screw. A lot of guys strip out these heads and it's because they don't put the driver into the screw properly. Then once you've got that done, whoops, okay, wipe off that excess, it just dropped into my tray. Okay, once you've got that done, you can then put the screw into place. Now, be careful. You don't need to over tighten screws with Loctite, but you do need to give it a bit of time to go off. Don't use too much. If you can see it into the thread, that's all it needs to be. And the other tip is, if you've got a screw that you've Loctited that's a bit hard to get out, what you have to do is heat the screw up. That will melt the Loctite and let the screw come back out. I don't find it's too much of an issue when you use 243. I've very seldom stripped out a head pulling a screw out with 243, but it can happen. Just don't use too much, but use it. Every screw that goes into metal has to be done. Catch us later.